Alright, very late again, and such. Not that you could see that, but it doesn't really matter. It's after 2 in the morning. But anyway, yeah, really long day. Long days are kind of fun, though, if I didn't feel too terrible today, so a long day was good. Anyway, Conference Board did a video on this value difference thing, and sort of relates, kind of indirectly, to this stupid Tranquil guy who's still on here. But anyway, he's made a couple of videos. Ethelists are wrong. The Magician. Ethelists are wrong too. Pure will. So he's big on this will thing, and after our last argument, I did look up some of this Hindu stuff, and they had one of these parables, I guess, right? I read the whole thing, and it was just, it started off really good, like you've got a story happening there, and you can almost kind of get it, like, a son, and there's a son and a father. The father's going to make a sacrifice to get himself, to become superior, to do the Mr. Spock thing or something, I don't know. Well, anyway, and so I guess the idea is you're supposed to give up all your possessions, and, he just brings a bunch of old cows and half-dead sheep and, a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of garbage, and tries to sell him, cheat his way into the elitism, nirvana, whatever. The son notices this and sort of gripes and, points out that maybe the father should sacrifice his son because, it's his greatest possession, and yet, like, this doesn't sound like something that's going to happen, but whatever. Well, anyway, and so the son is bargaining with death, and there's this whole scenario where the son doesn't sell out, like he gets offered a cheese sandwich and he doesn't take it, and he gets offered whatever, paradise, blah blah blah, and he says, no, I want the truth, I don't want the bullshit, I just want the truth. And this is supposed to be some sign of your superiority or something, your elevation on this hierarchy of existence. And no. Well, I mean, yes, but no. I mean, the religion, and it is a religion, it does value the truth, but it doesn't have the truth. And so that's where the whole thing falls apart. I mean, it thinks fire is, some kind of sacred instrument. It still has a bunch of vaguely described gods and vaguely described events. Where you go and what happens and all this other stuff is all left kind of unknown. They sort of, you can just see they're making it up. So anyway, so it's a religion. It's something people manufacture with the world they lived in. And so they manufactured a truth out of what they knew, and their knowledge was incomplete. So anyways, he's big on this will word, and will just gets way too lost in a bunch of nonsense. I mean, will is just the thing that happens before action. I mean, it's there's this stuff going on in your head, and it coalesces, and the end product is this thing we call our will. But it's not free, because it can only happen through this process of what turns out to be your expression of behavior, and we can see the conflict in it, the fact that sometimes it takes a while to coalesce this will thing. And I've used this example before. It's a cliche example, but I experience this sometimes in my summers. Sometimes especially early in the year, the pool water is very cold where I work, and it takes a little bit of you have to work on your brain a little to give it enough confidence to say, jump in the water, it'll be all right. Yeah, it's going to shock the fuck out of you at first, but you're going to be all right, so don't worry about it. Just slide yourself in there, and you sort of have to get yourself in the mood. You have to build your will to do it. And then we have lots of other examples where we don't want to do something. We absolutely despise the idea of it. And we have to contrive a reason, a purpose, an accomplishment. So we drag ourselves out of bed and we go to work because we know we're obligated and we got to finish it, and we better finish it now and not later, and all this other crap is because there's an equation that goes on. And it comes up with a solution, and the solution is solid because we know that there is consequence, that you can't just procrastinate forever. Although I'm all trying, I'm putting off everything. Oh, I am just so deep in shit. But anyway, but yeah, we do have the knowledge that it's not going to get done by somebody else, and we're going to have to do it, and so we might as well get it done, and blah, blah, blah. We can do this rationalizing, and we can build inside of us a little program that'll be stronger than the other programs, and it'll say, this is what we're going to do. And it'll rely on past experience, where that part of our brain was the dominant, where it was correct. It was this principled, responsible part of us, and it has control of us. And that's all you're really doing. So when there's many circumstances when you deny yourself something, like somebody offers you the Virgin, and well, she's underage, and she's not really doing it by consent. She's being coerced because she doesn't really have other choices. And so you deny yourself the pleasure because it's not right. It's not fair. Or some other thing tells you this is not the right thing to do. Now, even though your desire is still there, you still want to do it, okay, your will says no. So comparing will to desire, I don't think really works. So that sort of gets back to Conference Report, who's talking about value and evolution. Now the catch there is, he's sort of just pointing out that how we're sort of constructed to have senses and to be aware of things that are conducive to our flourishing, a word I really hate, and our reproduction. Well, those two things aren't necessarily the same thing, so let's understand that. If salmons don't get into the fresh water and they don't get caught up in the race up the stream, some species of them, I think, will continue to live. They can live in the ocean, and they'll do just fine because it won't trigger their death process if they don't do the spawning thing. So they could thrive if they don't reproduce, which is a catch. And certainly that could be true for humans. Also, there might be a tax, a physical tax you pay for procreating. All right, so, but the point is, it doesn't really matter either way. My argument would be is that, yes, a lot of our senses are built that way, but we're always in transition. So we always have vestigial parts. We always have some bits and pieces left over from a past. Like even our toes, for example, you could argue we really don't need them anymore. We could just go with kind of a flexible front on our foot, and it would work just fine because it's sort of a leftover from when our feet were more for gripping than they are now. And, when we're living in the trees and such. And so now we would be much better off with something a little firmer and harder and more durable than the foot we have. So it really hasn't refined itself yet, so it still has pieces left over. And likewise, we can have attributes that have no real value to evolution, no real value to your thriving, but they're no deficit either. So they'll exist just because they fall into this middle ground where it doesn't matter evolutionarily. We don't have to get rid of it because it's really not a liability. So you could argue that different cosmetic features and hair or some other kind of thing that don't really serve much of a purpose exist just because they don't necessarily get you in trouble either. So yeah, yes, as a theme, the general trend is for organisms to develop senses and tools that are conducive to flourishing and reproducing. But there's always a context to that, in that, like I said, most organisms are often migrating and exploiting various environments. So those tools are often changing or in transition. And I guess one could argue that our brain is sort of an example of that, where we gain this huge capacity without any real ability to use it in a huge way. we didn't physically and methodically and step by step acquire our intelligence physically. We acquired the capacity physically, I think, quickly, and we couldn't realize the potential of that capacity for hundreds of thousands of years until we finally developed enough language and enough skills to be able to create a knowledge base and a capacity to fully inform ourselves through maturation. So, yeah, but that gets complicated because our whole evolution is tied to how we lived, and how we lived is sort of tied to how we maturate, and how we maturate might be tied to the fact that we're intelligent. And maybe other great apes, if you could just stunt their maturation, you might be able to expand their intelligence. So there's a whole bunch of arguments there that can be made. So anyway, where do I want to go with this? So back to flipping back to the tranquil guy. Yeah, you're just talking religion. And I don't know why you're bringing up Schopenhauer, because his only concession to the religion, again, I'm going to argue, isn't an affirmative thing. He's just saying it's a lesser of the other evils. If you're going to live, this is what you should be associated with. But let's get realistic, okay? Schopenhauer was an elitist little rich prick. He had no social conscience, okay? He was a good complainer, a nice griper, but he didn't get his hands dirty. I mean, he wasn't a worker. He wasn't in the trenches. He wasn't fighting for liberation for people. He wasn't doing much of anything useful except serving himself. So in that sense, he was pretty nihilistic. And he was basically just saying, if I'm going to wallow in something, or I'm going to find peace somewhere, I'm going to find it in this hedonistic expression of music. So to call music some kind of sacred, pure thing is just stupid. To say it's not associated with addictions and emotions is stupid. It's completely emotionally invoking. So, I mean, I would almost argue if Schopenhauer was existing now, he might just say, yeah, everything kind of sucks, live for porn. I mean, he might just say something like that. And so you're going to make an icon out of him if that's what he said, live for porn? So, I mean, I think you're just projecting your own appreciation for art and looking for anything that endorses it as something on a pedestal. And it's not. It's just another expression of the basic attraction mechanism that exists inside of us. This is art for me. All right? And it's art for me because of the aesthetics that please me, and the aesthetics that please me are part of my conditioning. It's not some sacred or holy thing. It's something connected just as much as everything else to the biology. So I don't really think you can make that argument. I think it's a silly argument. I think it's a silly religion. I think you ought to quit. Well, I'm just saying it's going to be totally ineffective as an argument to me, okay? This name-dropping shit that you insist upon doing means absolutely nothing to me. I'm only interested in an argument, and you're not making even those old name-droppies, you're not even bringing me their argument, all right? You're just bringing me little quotes and little phrases that don't say anything to me. No subject is that simple. Life isn't a journey, not a destination. This is cliche, tripe. It's not philosophy. But anyway, yeah, like I said, I don't know why I don't know the obsession with these people. What I've read of Schopenhauer's biography kind of irritated me because, yeah, he just seems like some little punky, pricky little rich kid, all right, living off his family money. And fuck him. I mean, really. I don't have a whole lot of appreciation for elitists now, but I really didn't like him in the past when people were starving for a lack of 50 cents. And this guy was worried about how starched his collars were. You know. I mean, that's just, people lived and died, for pennies. Pennies made the difference. So, yeah. I mean, if you're going to preach to me some billionaire's philosophy from today, I'm probably not going to have a lot of respect for it, because I'm going to know where it comes from. It comes from some asshole who sees some purpose in acquiring a huge, giant ownership surplus, and he doesn't see any purpose in using the power of that surplus to provide comfort for all these people that are in need of comfort. And so that seems like an asshole to me. And again, I don't think you should put this revoking of desire on some sort of pedestal. I've done it, okay, and I don't deserve to be on a pedestal. All I have is some common sense. I've realized a certain conclusion that I can't win through somebody else losing. If my sense of victory or feeling of victory requires somebody else to be harmed, I can't win that way, or an animal. Yeah, it's just a conclusion. All right? Okay, I'm obligated by the truth. I'm not obligated by some inner purity. I'm obligated because it's the truth and I know it, and now I can't deny it, because then I would be a hypocrite and I wouldn't feel good about myself. So I'm just selfishly saying I'm obligated because I know it. If I didn't know it, well, then I could be an asshole still. And so, again, this is... I just don't see this as being as at all evidence of anything. And in this parable, it was so easily seen that this is kind of just bullshit. Because if the teacher, or Death himself, is talking to you, and Death starts offering you bribes, aren't you going to know that the right answer is, no thank you, Mr. Death? Don't you kind of know that door number 3 is waiting for you if you say no to the box? You know, what's behind box number 2? You kind of know that curtain number 3 is kind of car, maybe. So if you say no to the box, you might be guaranteeing yourself the curtain. So you're still going to be, the wheels are still going to be turning. And this whole idea that there's some, you can talk it, you can say it, but so do Christians, all right? Silly, especially the nuttier of them. The more fanatic and loopy of the Christians are the ones that'll sit there and pretend they're having an orgasm, as they're receiving the babble of God. So this testimony about how wonderful it is to be booty, to be one of these perfect Hindus or something, these rare beasties. I don't see it, frankly. Okay, I don't think they're in some charmed place. All right, at best, they've been able to create an idiot servant mentality. They can turn off their humanity, and even the expressed intent of the religion is to turn it off. Is to turn off your capacity to be harmed by things like grief. I mean, there's no point in having these negative emotions, but at the same time, there's no point in being alive if you're not going to be cognizant of the price of the life. So again, what is so special about this place, if this place is really just a denial of reality? I mean, you can't say you love the truth and then step into a world where you deny the truth, okay, that there is harm taking place and it deserves your respect. Just like you might think a beautiful piece of art deserves to be protected and preserved and even admired, I would argue the truth of harm, the truth of suffering, deserves acknowledgement. It doesn't deserve a bunch of people who turn away and say, it can't get to me. It can't touch me. I don't see that as becoming an actualized or complete human being. That sounds like a convenient pile of shit to me. So anyway, I'm not going to argue your religion, okay? You're religious, all right? So quit playing some other game, and you're just not going to convert me. You don't have any more chance of converting me with this hokey pokey Hindu-y crappy tambourine banging bullshit than the Jehovah Witnesses or any other cliche, badly written, silly story. And it's just a silly story. I mean, do you revere fire? I mean, do you obey all the tenets of your religion? You know, do you do the sacrificing, and do you do the, like I said, do you just can't wait for, you're all horny for your day in the crematorium? I mean, you really think there's an afterlife? You really think your brain is something other than just neurons? You really think, like the Hindus, that there's a secret hole in the top of your head? A little secret chakra up there? You really think there is one? Huh? Or do you think that's maybe just made up? Yeah, I think maybe it's just made up. So anyway, enough of the video. I believe it's enough. Let me look on my special invisible religion watch, because it's invisible. It has no real substance. And it says, yes, it's enough of a video. Yeah, I just made that up. It's, you know, like religion, I can just make up a whole bunch of silly stories about holes. You know, the secret magic hole. Yes, and we're all dreaming of the hole. The great burning of the V whole thing, or whatever. Anyway, the snatching of the whatever, the cluntatorium. Anyway, I think that's it. Oh, my head is loose. I'll have to get some crazy glue. Yeah, that's pretty funny. I have to get some crazy glue. Yeah, it's really late. I think I said that before, but I'll reiterate it. So anyway, that's all. Oh yeah, I did make the political list, so it's on this little linky thing over here now. So you can go, you click on this political list, and so it doesn't have too many videos yet. Gotta work on that. See, the good thing about this is if you got like some mobile device and you load these pages, it will adjust to the size of whatever resolution you're viewing it in. So it's kind of a good thing. So yeah, so this is the YouTube list, the biggin. That's the biggin. So anyway, till the next time and such. Oh, Heroin Church. It's probably, I think he's deleted another video. Let's see. He's got to quit doing that. Really, I'm sick of these little fucking deleted video things coming up on here. Make a video, leave it up. If you don't like the video, don't put it up. Make it private or something. But this is just bullshit. I'm sick of these delete. Yeah, and it's removed by the user again. I just really hate that shit. Stop doing that. It's irritating me. Okay, so till next time and such, and so forth and whatnot. Yeah, it looks like they're all gone again. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, not all of them. I don't think so. These are the old ones that are all gone. See, he's got a bunch of these spots all over my page. These empty spots. He did have a couple of good videos, so it's sort of annoying. But whatever. People. Fucking need some crazy glue.